father of one of the 6-year-old children that was killed in Sandy Hook. He said, there are more than enough gun laws on the books. Criminals, by definition, break the law. So I think that there is so much more to this argument, but this specific thing takes focus on our facilities that belong to you, the citizens of this community, the TCC in particular. And so I will be supporting this, just so you know. I do know that these other facts are at play. And I did ask of the city attorney to clarify whether this was just for the TCC or all city-owned, managed, or owned facilities, if that included parks, sidewalks, roads, and any other thing that belongs to you, the citizens. And I think that the city attorney said this applies specifically to the Tucson Convention Center. Is that correct?
Well, Councilmember Scott, members of the council, both as a practical matter and for various legal reasons, it really is only our ability to do this only for properties that we operate and have proprietary functions, so properties we operate like a business. So that's not parks and sidewalks. And in the context of gun shows, quite frankly, it's easy.
And the other thing that happened was there was a gun buyback that occurred at the Hardesty police station. And I believe there were some exchanges that occurred where there were no background checks. And I certainly hope that as a result of that, that no guns that passed from those present to those who were buying, that no bad guilt comes from that. I just had to mention that that was at least one incident where 2 individuals exchanged money for guns.
Let me comment on that, because that's exactly the incident that brought this to light. The folks who were holding their buyback out on the periphery of the one that the Safeway and actually the citizens of this community funded with over $10,000 of their own private money. Those people standing out on the right of way with their cash for gun signs, and me walking up to you, handing you $100 and walking away with a gun when you don't know anything about my criminal background or my mental health background, anything at all. That is exactly the point that brought this to the forefront. If that can be done 50 feet away from 2 dozen cops, then we got a problem, and we need to fix that loophole. Now, what we're doing today is we're simply saying we're not going to give that person who would otherwise fail a background check a second chance by buying one from somebody without having to go through the background check. And so you're right to bring up all the other issues, but because we can't solve everything doesn't mean we shouldn't do something.
But don't you think that those who are selling the guns at a person-to-person sale might also have to have a gun background check? Potentially, because the seller should be as wholesome as the buyer.
Sure. And if in the unlikely scenario that has been presented that in a gun show, for instance, the seller sells somebody a gun, the buyer fails the background check, and then in subsequent, in turning it back over, we find out that the seller also would have failed it. Then we basically said, great, you just proved the point. Neither of them should have the gun. So the people who make that argument are simply making the case for us.
Mr. City Clerk, Mr. City Attorney, I would like to make as part of the record an email received from Ken Renier, who is President of Gun Owners of Arizona, and I'm going to hand that to the clerk. I think all the council members received this, and I would like Mr. Rankin, for the record, to address Mr. Renier's objections and indicate the city's position on that.
And Mr. Mayor, you forwarded that email to me earlier, so I had the opportunity to review it, so I appreciate it. Mr. Renier's points really mischaracterized the proposal as I understood it at the time and now, which is very clear, and characterized this as an attempt to ban person-to-person sales. You see, and clearly that's not what the proposal is. It's to include the condition with the use of the city's properties in the context of gun shows that all sales would involve a background check. Secondly, it characterized this as affecting pawn shops, second-hand shops, which is not the case. It's not part of the scope of the motion that's on the table. And thirdly, proposed a scenario in which a condition that's present in our pawn shop and second-hand dealer regulations in Chapter 7 of our code would cause an untenable situation
second. Any other discussion? Councilmember Pembroke.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Mayor, for Mike Rankin. Can you clarify who specifically owns the TCC? Is it the city of Tucson or the real level board?
Mr. Mayor,
The legality of this resolution.
Sure, Councilmember Pembroke. The city is actually the sublessee, the tenant of the relevant portions of the TCC. We lease it from Rio Nuevo District, who technically actually leases it from the bank, Wells Fargo. But as the sublessee, under the lease agreement, we have control of the property, we have operational authority over the property, and there is no consent authority by the other entities I just mentioned with respect to these types of decisions.
So we are the authority figure in this system.
That's right, you have the authority to make the decisions in terms of what types of events will be authorized or permitted within the zone.
Now, with this resolution, it would say a gun show that does background checks can still utilize TCC. Is that what I'm hearing in this resolution? As long as they're doing the background checks?
That's correct. All right, anything else?
And that nuance as to the ownership is the reason I included owned or managed by in the resolution.
Mr. Moran.
Members of council information, we have two scheduled gun shows, one in September, one in November, that we have not signed contracts for, and we have one in March of 14, that we have not signed contracts for, to the point of that.
So we'll have ample opportunity here to clarify before any other gun show. Councilman Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as you prepare the documents, Mike, because we do lease ramadas and other things in our parks, I want to make sure that you're looking at that specifically to make sure that as we manage facilities, that functions aren't occurring there that would be out of compliance with this, if that's possible.
Okay. Any more discussion? Hearing none. We have a motion and a second. Motion made by Councilmember Kozaczek and seconded by Councilman Rowland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
This is how liberty dies. The thunderous applause.